The ballroom lights dimmed as Wayne Cresswell stepped onto the stage. My hands gripped the armrest so hard my knuckles turned white. I watched him adjust the microphone, smooth his tie, and smile at the crowd like he owned the world. Then he clicked to the first slide. My slide. The one I'd spent 3 sleepless nights perfecting. He began speaking, using my words, my research, my personal story about why this project mattered. Every sentence felt like a knife. The audience leaned forward, captivated. Someone whispered, "Brilliant." Wayne never looked at me once during the entire presentation. But when the applause erupted, thunderous and long, he turned slightly and smirked in my direction. I felt my stomach drop. I stood up, legs shaking, and walked out of the ballroom. My phone buzzed in my pocket. It was Vivian Locke, the client. "We're ready to sign, Caroline. But only with you." I froze in the hallway, staring at those words. What did that even mean? 8 weeks earlier, everything had been different. I remembered sitting at my desk when the email arrived from Vivian's company. They wanted to discuss my proposal, the one I'd submitted through channels. But instead of scheduling with my manager, they asked to speak directly with me. I was shocked. Clients never bypass the chain like that. When I called Vivian, her voice was warm but direct. "Caroline, your proposal showed something rare. Vision. We don't want this filtered through executives who didn't build it." My heart raced. "I'd be happy to help however I can," I said carefully. "Good. Because we want your mind leading this, not just your hands executing it." After we hung up, I sat there stunned. This was the opportunity I'd waited years for. But as I packed my bag that evening, I noticed Wayne watching me from his glass office. His expression was curious, calculating. I should have recognized that look. Wayne started showing up at my desk the next week. He'd never done that before. "Caroline, great work on the Locke account," he said, leaning against my cubicle wall. "I'd love to stay looped in." Sounded supportive, but something felt off. He wasn't asking about my ideas or offering guidance. He was gathering information. Within days, he insisted on being copied on every email to Vivian. "Just want to make sure you're supported," he explained. But his reviews became delays. My drafts sat in his inbox for days before he'd approve them. Then he scheduled a strategy session about my project. When the calendar invite arrived, I noticed something wrong. My name wasn't on the attendee list. I walked to his office. "Wayne, I think there's a mistake. I'm not invited to the Locke meeting." He barely looked up. "That one's executive level. We'll brief you after." My chest tightened. Executive level. It was my project. I stared at that calendar invite for an hour, watching the meeting happen in real time without me. Emmett, my coworker, rolled his chair over. "You know Wayne's telling people upstairs this is his initiative, right?" he whispered. "What?" My voice came out sharper than I intended. "He presented it at the leadership meeting yesterday. Called it his strategic vision for growth." Felt dizzy. Wayne was erasing me from my own work. I pulled up my files, double-checking everything was backed up. Then I decided I had to confront him directly. This couldn't continue. I knocked on his door that afternoon. He waved me in, still typing. "Wayne, we need to talk about the Locke project. I feel like I'm being cut out of decisions." He finally looked at me, his expression shifting to concern that felt practiced. "Caroline, I'm protecting you from the pressure. You're brilliant at execution. Let me handle the politics." My hands clenched. "But it's my work," he sighed. "You're getting emotional. That's exactly why I'm shielding you." I walked out of Wayne's office feeling smaller than I'd ever felt. His words echoed in my head. Emotional. Reactive. He'd made me doubt myself in under 5 minutes. That's what people like him did best. I sat at my desk, staring at my screen, fighting back tears of frustration. An email notification popped up. "Vivian. Caroline, I noticed you weren't on today's call. Is everything all right? We specifically requested your input on the implementation timeline." My breath caught. She'd noticed. She cared. I typed carefully, professionally. Hi Vivian, I wasn't included in that particular meeting. I'm happy to catch up on anything you need. Her response came within minutes. That's unacceptable. You're the reason we're interested in this partnership. I'm adding you directly to our strategic planning calls moving forward. She attached a new meeting series, one that bypassed Wayne entirely. I felt something shift inside me. Relief mixed with determination. Wayne didn't know about these calls yet. For now they were mine. Vivian's next message made my heart race. Also, this deal is bigger than your company realizes. Stay close. That weekend, I didn't leave my apartment. I ordered takeout, set my phone to silent except for Vivian's number, and rebuilt the entire pitch deck. Every slide needed to be perfect, every argument airtight. This wasn't just about winning a contract anymore. It was about proving my worth. I worked through Saturday night barely sleeping. Sunday morning my mom called 3 times. I'd promised to take her to a doctor's appointment. My stomach twisted with guilt as I texted an apology. She said she understood, but I heard the disappointment in her voice. I hated choosing work over her. But if I didn't fight for this now, I'd lose everything I'd built. Sunday at 2 in the morning my phone buzzed. Make sure the slides reflect MY final narrative before the pitch. I stared at that message, anger burning through my exhaustion. His narrative. He hadn't written a single word. I opened the latest file version he'd sent. My hands started shaking. The file properties told me everything. Under author, Wayne had replaced my name with his. Under last modified by, only his name appeared, even though he hadn't changed a single slide. He was rewriting history in the metadata. I took screenshots of everything, the original files with my name, the new versions with his. Then I saved them to my personal drive. Cold clarity settled over me. Wayne wasn't just taking credit. He was systematically erasing evidence that I'd ever contributed. This was calculated, planned. I made myself coffee and kept working, but now I was working smart. Every email, every file, every conversation, I documented it all. If this was going to be a fight, I'd have ammunition. By Monday morning I had everything backed up 3 different ways. I walked into the office exhausted but ready. Emmett glanced at me. You look like you haven't slept in days. I haven't, I said. But I'm done letting him steal this. He nodded slowly. Good. 'Cause we're all watching. And it's disgusting. Wayne scheduled a final rehearsal 2 days before the pitch. The conference room filled with executives I'd never met. I sat in the back, clutching my notes. Wayne stood at the front, clicking through my slides like he'd created them. When he reached the section about customer pain points, he stumbled. Caroline, he called out. Walk us through this part. I stood up, my voice steady despite my nerves. The research shows 3 primary friction points in their current system. Right, Wayne interrupted. But let me explain the strategic implications. He talked over me for 5 minutes, restating exactly what I just said but in a louder voice. One executive raised his hand. This is impressive work, Wayne. Wayne smiled. Thank you. Took months of personal research. I felt my face flush. When I tried to add context to another slide, Wayne cut me off again. Caroline, let the leaders handle this part. The room laughed. Not cruel laughter, just casual amusement. But it burned anyway. I sat down, humiliated. My phone buzzed. Vivian. Your vision is exactly what we need. The client is genuinely impressed. Wayne's eyes flicked to my phone screen. He'd seen the notification. His expression tightened for just a second before the smile returned. After the rehearsal ended, he pulled me aside in the hallway. Caroline, we need to discuss expectations for pitch day. His voice was low, almost threatening. I need you to understand something. This is a high-stakes presentation. Investors, journalists, major partners will be there. You cannot embarrass the company. I stared at him. I would never. Let me do the talking, he continued. You're brilliant at the background work, but you don't have experience at this level. Trust me on this. I felt my throat tighten. Understood. What else could I say? Arguing would only make things worse. He was my boss. He controlled my career. As I walked back to my desk, my phone buzzed again. An unknown number. It was a recruiter's email. Hello, Caroline. Vivian Locke suggested I reach out regarding a senior consultant opportunity. Would you be interested in discussing? I read it 3 times. Vivian was opening doors I didn't even know existed. Pitch day arrived with cruel sunshine. I stood outside the venue, a massive hotel ballroom downtown, watching people stream inside. Investors in expensive suits. Journalists with cameras. Industry leaders I recognized from conferences. My stomach churned. I'd barely eaten in 2 days. Inside, the room buzzed with energy. Round tables filled the space, each set with crystal water glasses and embossed programs. I found my seat in the back corner, far from the stage. Wayne was backstage, probably getting mic'd up. Emmett slid into the seat next to me. You okay? He asked quietly. No, I admitted. But I will be. The lights dimmed. A woman in a sleek black dress stepped onto the stage. She was the MC, someone from the marketing department I'd never met. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us today. We're thrilled to present a groundbreaking partnership, led by our CEO Wayne Cresswell. His latest breakthrough promises to reshape our industry. My hands clenched in my lap. His latest breakthrough. The applause started before Wayne even appeared. Wayne walked onto the stage like he owned it. Confident, charming, every inch the visionary leader. The audience loved him instantly. He clicked to the first slide. My slide. 3 years ago, Wayne began. I started asking myself a question. He paused for effect. What if we could completely reimagine how businesses approach client relationships? I'd asked that question. I'd written those exact words in my initial proposal. Wayne continued, telling a story about visiting a struggling small business owner who couldn't afford traditional consulting. Except it wasn't his story. It was mine. I'd met that business owner. I'd spent hours understanding her challenges. Wayne had never even been there. But he told it like he had. His voice thick with false emotion. The crowd was captivated. Someone behind me whispered. He's incredible. Felt physically sick. Slide after slide he presented my research, my insights, my vision as his own. He even used my metaphors, my turns of phrase. When he finished, the applause was deafening. People stood. Wayne smiled, soaking it in. He finally glanced toward my corner. The smirk was brief but unmistakable. I pushed through the crowd toward the exit, my vision blurring. I needed air. The hallway outside the ballroom was blessedly empty. I leaned against the wall, trying to steady my breathing. My phone rang. Vivian. Caroline. Her voice was bright, excited. Congratulations. The client leadership just confirmed. We're absolutely committed to moving forward. I exhaled slowly. That's wonderful news. But you should know, Vivian continued. Our commitment is specifically to you. Your leadership on this project is non-negotiable. We made that clear to Wayne weeks ago. Froze. I'm sorry, what? We told Wayne our contract requires you as the lead consultant. Not him. Not your company without you. Just you. Has he not mentioned that? My heart pounded in my ears. No. He hasn't said anything. Vivian was quiet for a moment. Caroline, I think you need to know exactly what we told your CEO. She explained everything. The client had sent a formal letter 3 weeks ago. The deal was worth $1.2 million. But it was contingent on my direct involvement. Without me, the contract was void. Wayne had never told me. I stood in that hallway, phone pressed to my ear, as everything clicked into place. Wayne knew. He'd known for weeks that I held all the power. That's why he'd tried so hard to sideline me. If I left the company, the deal died. He needed me, but he couldn't stand that I mattered more than him. Vivian, I said carefully, thank you for telling me this. Of course. You deserve to know your value. We'll be in touch directly about next steps. After we hung up, I walked back toward the ballroom. Through the glass doors, I could see Wayne surrounded by executives, champagne glasses raised, everyone congratulating him. He was glowing. I pushed the door open and stepped inside. The noise hit me, laughter and celebration. A board member I recognized, Miles Renner, stood near the bar. He was older, gray-haired, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. As I walked past, he turned. "Caroline, right? You worked on this project." He nodded. "Are you okay?" he asked quietly. "You don't look like someone who's proud of what just happened." I met his eyes. "Mr. Renner, would it be possible to speak with you privately? Off the record." Miles led me to a quiet corner of the hotel lobby. We sat in leather chairs near a fountain. "What's going on?" he asked. I chose my words carefully. No emotions. No accusations. Just facts. "Mr. Renner, I led the development of the project Wayne just presented. The client, Vivian Locke's team, made their contract contingent on my personal involvement. They communicated this to Wayne 3 weeks ago. He never informed me." Miles' expression hardened. "You're certain about this?" I pulled out my phone and forwarded him Vivian's email chain. He read it slowly, his jaw tightening. "This is concerning." "There's more," I continued. "Wayne has systematically excluded me from meetings, taken sole credit for my work, and told executives this was his initiative." I showed him the calendar invites, the file metadata, the emails. Miles looked genuinely disturbed. "Caroline, I need to verify some of this. Would you be willing to provide a formal statement to the board?" "Yes," I said without hesitation. He stood up. "Don't go anywhere. I'll be back." He walked toward the ballroom with purpose. Through the glass, I watched him approach Wayne. The conversation looked heated. Wayne's face went from confused to angry to pale in the span of minutes. Miles gestured sharply, clearly not accepting whatever excuses Wayne was offering. Other executives noticed the tension. The celebration energy shifted to uncertainty. Then Wayne stormed out of the ballroom. He saw me sitting in the lobby and made a straight line toward me. "What did you do?" he hissed, his face red. I stood up calmly. "I told the truth. You're destroying everything I built. Do you understand that?" His voice was shaking. "You built." Kept my voice steady. "Wayne, you didn't write a single slide. You didn't conduct any research. You didn't build the client relationship. I did. Nobody will believe you. The client already does. So does the board, apparently." Wayne looked like he might explode. He opened his mouth, then closed it. Miles emerged from the ballroom, flanked by 2 other board members. "Wayne, we need to talk. Now." Wayne shot me one last furious look before following them. Emmett appeared at my elbow. "What's happening?" he whispered. "The truth," I said. "Finally." The next morning, Wayne called me into his office. His demeanor had completely changed. Gone was the condescension. Now he looked desperate. "Caroline, sit down. Please." Sat. "I think there's been a misunderstanding," he began. "I never meant to diminish your contributions. You're incredibly talented." I said nothing. "I want to make this right," he continued. "I'm offering you a promotion. Director level. 6-figure bonus. Your own team to lead." And blinked. He'd refused me that exact promotion 8 months ago, claiming I wasn't ready. Now he was handing it to me on a silver platter. "This is effective immediately," Wayne added. "Full discretion on the Locke project. Whatever you need." I let the silence stretch. Then I spoke. "I appreciate the offer, Wayne, but I'm going to decline." His face went pale. "You're making a mistake. You won't survive outside this company. Nobody knows your name. I made you." I stood up. "Actually, Vivian Locke knows my name. The client knows my name. And apparently, they're the only ones who matter." I walked out. His voice followed me. "You'll regret this, Caroline." I typed my resignation letter that evening. It was brief, professional, emotionless. Effective in 2 weeks, I am resigning from my position. Thank you for the opportunities provided during my tenure. No accusations. No drama. Just a clean exit. I submitted it through the HR portal at midnight. By morning my inbox exploded. Wayne sent 3 emails before 9 a.m. We need to talk. This is premature. You're throwing away your career. I ignored them all. At 10 Vivian called. Caroline, our team would like to formally offer you a consulting contract. You'd lead the entire implementation as an independent consultant. 12-month engagement renewable. The compensation is substantial. She named a figure that made my breath catch. It was more than my annual salary. We'll also cover your business setup costs and provide referrals to other potential clients. You'd be building something that's truly yours. I thought about my cramped cubicle, Wayne's smug face, the years of being talked over. I accept, I said. Wonderful. I'll send the contract today. An hour later, Vivian posted on LinkedIn about the partnership, tagging me directly. Thrilled to partner with consultant Caroline Hayes on this transformative project. The office erupted. Within hours, 3 of my colleagues submitted resignations. They asked if I was building a team. Emmett came to my desk. I'm giving notice tomorrow. If you need someone who actually values your work, I'm in. 2 clients I'd worked with over the years sent private messages asking for my contact information. They'd seen Vivian's post. Word spread fast. Wayne tried to control the narrative, but it was too late. People were connecting the dots. Char called me in. Caroline, we're conducting an internal review. Would you be willing to outline your experience with leadership? I provided a factual timeline. Dates, emails, examples. No opinions. Just documentation. The HR director looked increasingly concerned as she read. This is helpful. Thank you for your honesty. Miles Renner requested a meeting. In his office he laid out papers. We've received complaints about Wayne before. Your situation isn't isolated. We're launching a formal investigation. My 2 weeks' notice felt simultaneously too long and too short. Wayne avoided me completely. But I heard through others that he was unraveling. Missing meetings. Snapping at staff. The board met on Thursday. It was supposed to be confidential, but news leaked fast in our small office. Wayne was being removed from the lock contract negotiations. Not fired. Not yet. But suspended pending the investigation's results. I saw him in the parking lot that evening. He looked 10 years older. Caroline, please. He approached my car. I need to talk to you. I don't think that's appropriate, Wayne. 5 minutes. Please. Against my better judgment, I agreed. We stood under the parking lot lights. I'm losing everything, he said quietly. My reputation. Probably my job. Have a family. A mortgage. Waited. If you tell the board this was a misunderstanding, that you overreacted, maybe we can fix this. My chest tightened. Wayne, I never lied. I never exaggerated. I told them exactly what happened. But you could tell them differently. I shook my head. I could. But I won't. Because it wouldn't be true. His expression hardened. Then you've destroyed me. No, I said quietly. You destroyed yourself. I just stopped covering for you. I got in my car and drove away. He stood there, alone in the empty lot. My last day arrived faster than expected. I packed my desk at dawn before most people arrived. Photos, a plant Emmett had given me, my favorite coffee mug. It all fit in one small box. As I carried it to my car, I realized how little I was leaving behind. The important things, my skills, my relationships, my integrity were coming with me. Vivian's contract had arrived the day before. Reading it felt surreal. My name at the top. My terms. My project. I signed it immediately. Miles found me in the lobby. Caroline, I wanted to say goodbye. And to apologize. We should have seen what was happening sooner. Thank you, I said. For listening when it mattered. The investigation is ongoing, he added. But I can tell you confidentially, Wayne's suspension is becoming permanent. The evidence is overwhelming. He nodded. Part of me felt satisfied. Part of me just felt sad. Good luck with everything, Miles said. You're going to do remarkable things. I drove home with the radio off, letting the silence settle around me. My phone buzzed. Hey, Mum. Dinner tonight. I want to celebrate your new beginning. Smiled. I'd love that. The next 3 months moved like a dream. I built a small team, people I trusted. Emmett joined me first, then 2 others who'd worked under Wayne's tyranny. We rented a modest office space downtown. Nothing fancy, just clean, bright and ours. The lock project launched successfully. Vivian's company was thrilled. They extended the contract for another year and referred me to 2 other major clients. My business grew faster than I'd imagined. I hired an accountant, a lawyer, a business coach. I learned about LLCs and tax structures and client retention. It was terrifying and exhilarating. Meanwhile, Wayne's world continued crumbling. The board investigation concluded. Multiple employees had experienced similar treatment. Stolen credit, manipulation, intimidation. The pattern was undeniable. Wayne was terminated. No severance. No recommendation. Just a quiet exit and a terse press release about pursuing other opportunities. I learned about it through LinkedIn. His profile changed to between opportunities. Felt nothing. No satisfaction. No anger. Just a distant acknowledgement that justice, however imperfect, had arrived. My mom asked if I felt guilty. Should I? Asked. You didn't do anything wrong. No, she said firmly. You didn't. 6 months after leaving, I spoke at an industry conference. Someone had seen Vivian's posts about our project and invited me to present our results. I stood on a stage, similar to the one where Wayne had stolen my work, and spoke about authentic leadership, about giving credit where it's due, about building teams that value every voice. The audience was engaged, asking questions, taking notes. Afterward, a young woman approached me. Thank you for that talk. I'm dealing with something similar at my company. Your story gave me courage. I handed her my card. If you ever need someone to talk to, reach out. I mean it. She teared up and hugged me. Moments like that made everything worthwhile. That evening my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. Hello. Caroline. It's Wayne. My stomach dropped. I don't think we should be talking. Please. Just 1 minute. His voice sounded hollow. I wanted to say I'm sorry. Waited. I destroyed my career, my marriage, everything. And I keep trying to understand what I did wrong. I took a deep breath. You never let me speak, Wayne. Silence. That's it, he asked finally. That's it. You had brilliant people around you, I continued. But you were so focused on being the star that you couldn't see anyone else's light. You stole my work because you couldn't stand that I might shine brighter than you. I thought I was protecting the company. You were protecting your ego, I said gently. And in the process, you hurt people who trusted you. Wayne was quiet for a long moment. For what it's worth, I am sorry. Truly. I believe you, I said. But sorry doesn't undo the damage. I know. I just wanted you to hear it. We hung up. I sat there for a while processing. Forgiveness felt complicated. I didn't hate Wayne anymore. But I didn't need to absolve him either. The hurt had happened. The consequences had followed. That was enough. I texted my mom. Just had the strangest conversation. She called immediately. Tell me everything. We talked for an hour. She reminded me that my success wasn't about Wayne's failure. It was about finally being valued. You built something real, sweetheart. That's all that matters. She was right. My business had a name now. Hayes Consulting. We had steady clients, a growing reputation, and a culture where people's work was always credited properly. That was the victory. Not Wayne's downfall. Just my rise. A year after leaving, I signed a lease on a bigger office. The team had grown to 8 people. We celebrated with champagne and takeout pizza. Emmett raised his glass. To Caroline for having the guts to walk away and build something better. Everyone cheered. I felt overwhelmed with gratitude. These people had taken a chance on me. They'd left stability to join something uncertain. And together we'd made it work. Vivian flew in for the celebration. You know, she said, pulling me aside. When we first met you, we saw something special. Not just talent. Integrity. That's rare. Thank you for believing in me, I said. Thank you for being worth believing in. That night I drove past my old office building. The lights were on in what used to be Wayne's office. Someone new sat there now. The company had moved on. Life continued. I kept driving, heading toward my apartment, toward the future I'd built with my own hands. My phone buzzed. A voicemail from an unknown number. I listened. Hi Caroline, my name is Tessa. I heard you speak at the conference last month. I'm in a situation with my boss taking credit for my work. Would you be willing to talk? I smiled and saved the number. Tomorrow I'd call her back. Tonight I just wanted to appreciate how far I'd come. 2 years after walking out of that ballroom, I received an award from the Industry Association. Consultant of the Year. They recognized my work, my team's success, and our commitment to ethical leadership. I brought my mom as my date. She cried when they called my name. Standing at the podium, looking out at hundreds of faces, I thought about that day Wayne had presented my work. How small I'd felt. How invisible. Thank you for this honor, I began. But I want to be clear. This award represents something bigger than me. It represents what happens when we create spaces where everyone's voice matters. Where credit is shared. Where talent is nurtured, not stolen. The audience applauded. After the ceremony, reporters asked about my company's growth. What's your secret? One asked. Respect, I said simply. Respect for people's work. Their time. Their contributions. It's not complicated. It's just rare. That night, as I placed the award on my desk, I thought about sending Wayne a photo. Not to gloat. Just to show him what I'd built. But I didn't. He wasn't part of this story anymore. This was mine. Completely, authentically mine. My phone buzzed. Vivian. Congratulations, Caroline. Well deserved. Let's discuss that expansion opportunity next week. I smiled and typed back. Absolutely. I'll bring some ideas. I leaned back in my chair, looking around my office, my team's photos on the wall, awards we'd won together, thank you notes from clients. This was success. Not the applause. Not the recognition. But the knowledge that everything I'd built was real. That when someone said my name, it meant something true. I'd stopped letting others define my worth. And in doing so, I'd finally found it.